Hello, guys. Welcome to Money Mondays, where we are focused on raising private capital and investing with purpose. So, whether you are a new investor or an experienced investor, understanding the art of raising private capital is crucial in today's competitive landscape. Join us as we navigate the complex realm of attracting investors, securing funding, and building meaningful relationships that fuel your business growth. All right, welcome, guys. I'm your host, Kalisha, and I have my co host, Betsy, with me today. What's going on, girl?
Hi. We
Today's
have
going to be
another.
fun.
Today is episode 22. Can you believe we've done 22 of
Damn,
these?
it's a lot, and it's just Money Mondays. So imagine all the other episodes that we've done. We've definitely done a lot since what, April?
Yeah. Yeah.
Damn.
April.
That's what that's like when you take action and you just dive in. And I think what I like, we didn't worry about having fancy equipment and all that stuff. We literally figure things out as we move along. And we get that question asked a lot, like, do you guys have a fancy camera or fancy? No, we figure things out as we go along and keep improving because it's all about taking action. But today, guys, we are talking about using private money for transactional lending with our guest Alexis Morgan. But before we even dive in, Betsy, do you want to hit them with
Yes.
a disclaimer?
I don't want to hit y'all, but um, this the following information is for educational purposes only. Please do your own due diligence. We do not provide financial, legal, or professional advice. Even our guest here is talking from their experience, you guys. Don't go out there saying, hey, Kalisha, Betsy told me this.
Mhm.
You guys always do your due
Do your own
diligence
thing.
and go to the professionals who are certified and
Mhm.
will be able to tell you legally what's correct for your case.
Yeah, that's it. Don't forget, you guys. We say it. We show it on the screen. So we are not liable for anything. Okay, neither is our guest. So let's welcome Alexis Morgan. Man, I'm like, what is your title? And she's like, man, I don't know, I'm an entrepreneur. You know what? My title is Do Business With Me. So let's welcome Alexis Morgan to Money Mondays. Welcome.
What's going on?
Man, I
What's
love
going
it.
on?
Yes, thank you for being here with us on Money Mondays.
Absolutely,
That's
I'm
good.
excited. I'm super
Man.
stoked, and of course, like my title is "Do Business with Me." I can figure out how to do business with anybody, so
Yeah.
I'm excited.
Man, I love it. Wait, but
That's-
you and Betsy, you guys are both in Georgia.
Yes.
Really, Betsy, you're in Georgia?
Mhm.
Yeah, we've met a few times in
Really?
person.
You come,
Yeah.
do you come to Atlanta often, or like?
Not really. The meetups for with Eddie are 2 hours away from me. So I
Oh, I
try
see.
to go. But yeah, I've seen you a couple times.
Yeah, we gotta
Man.
connect, man.
See?
We're both raising money. We're both out here doing deals. We gotta
E-
connect.
See? And you
Exactly.
guys are both in Georgia. Like, come on.
Yeah.
No, I love it there. No, well, no, I don't love it there. I love Florida.
Florida
Yeah,
is
but no, like Betsy tried to convince me to move there, and I'm like, no.
yeah. I like
Mm-mm.
Florida, to be honest.
I love
I'm
see,
here out of my career. So
man. I love Florida. The weather's just different. Yes, you have the sunshine, but it hits different, you know. But we'll stay with Florida. We'll stay with
yeah.
Florida.
Yeah, but
But
I love that mindset that you said, right? I can figure out what you said was I can figure out how to do business with you. And
yeah.
that's like a real mindset of a true entrepreneur
Mhm.
that like you can figure out we can make money together. We just got to
Yeah,
talk and see how we can make that happen.
Yep.
exactly.
Yep. I
Exactly.
truly believe. I heard this quote, and it just stuck with me ever since. The more hands I shake, the more money I make. It's just that simple. So
Yeah. Yeah.
And
No,
that's so great because we're going to be talking about networking here in a little bit. So that's
no, I
awesome.
love it. So, Alexis, I mean, a lot of persons, we know you because we're all in the same mastermind sub two. For persons who are not in sub two at all, tell us, who is Alexis Morgan? How did you get into the world of real estate investing? And now especially using private money for your business?
Yeah, great, great. So obviously, my name's Alexis Morgan. I'm 19-year-old entrepreneur, my favorite title. And so I got into real estate, not, I wasn't some special case. I literally saw it online. I'm sure every single person has had the opportunity. They heard an ad, they saw a YouTube video. I saw it online and I said, okay, this looks interesting. There's obviously money here. And so I delved deeper into what exactly it's about. I've always been a big um, advocate of like mentorship and the people. I actually just got off of another podcast where I was talking about how important it is to surround yourself with people who also know the lingo, who are doing deals. So I got started largely by putting myself in an environment where it was impossible for me to fail. And since then, it's been a lot of fun. I've done, over 40, 50 wholesale deals. And now I'm lending partners with Pace and Abraham. And we're lending money doing transactional funding, which I think we'll talk about. But yeah, it's been awesome. And it's all been purely from networking, branding, and constantly leveling up my personal development and the knowledge and skills that I have to offer to the marketplace.
Man, you just said something. I know we're going a little bit deep too early, but you just said something where you're putting yourself in environments around people who are already doing it. And we hear that a lot, but really tell us, how are you doing that? Is it just by going to events, or what exactly are you doing to make that happen?
Yeah, I love this question. One of my biggest mentors, his name's Abraham Gray. If you guys don't know him, you should definitely know him. The first time I met him, I drove from Orlando to Atlanta to have the opportunity to meet him. Not for sure, but I wanted the opportunity. A poor mindset wants a guarantee, a rich mindset wants an opportunity. So, yes, go to all the networking events, go to where successful people will be for the opportunity to be around them. Because once you're around them, it's impossible for you to not grow. You are who you surround yourself with. So that was a big thing for me. How did I grow? I just put myself constantly, whether it was driving, being on Zooms, listening to an audio podcast. I constantly made my reality like with people that I wanted to be associated with.
Man, to drive to Georgia and not even sure that you're gonna meet this.
Yeah.
A lot of persons will be like, "Are you crazy?"
Yes. Yes. But
Yeah,
the crazy people are the people who get, success.
get things done. No,
And you ended up moving here too. So like how was that? Like what made you decide like I'm just gonna stay here?
Yeah, so I was actually in Atlanta when I was in college. So I graduated high school. I went to Georgia Tech. I got a scholarship to Georgia Tech to be an engineer. But at that point, I had read a lot of books about real estate, and I quickly realized, like, oh, this is not in alignment. Like, this is not what wealthy people do. I got to get out of here. So I had dropped out of school. And when I left Atlanta from Georgia Tech, I was like, oh, I'm never going back there. Like, that city is not for me. Kalisha, we were just talking about Florida is like the best. I still believe that. But I got back somehow. God is crazy. I got back to Atlanta. Like I said, Abraham Gray is one of my biggest mentors now. And he is a big advocate of buying businesses. Buying businesses is something that I've done as well, something that I'm teaching a lot of people in the Sub-2 community, if you guys are familiar, about buying businesses. And he taught me about buying businesses. We had bought a business together back in February. And after we bought that business, really small cleaning company out of Atlanta, he said, hey, Alexis, congratulations. This is awesome. If you move to Atlanta, we could do a lot more deals together. And I moved like 3 days later. It was very, like, I remember that day like it was yesterday. He said like one sentence and I was like, done. Because at that point, I was living with my parents. I was making good money because I was a wholesaler. Wholesalers do pretty well, especially when you're like an 18-year-old kid with no expenses. So I was like, I could probably afford to move out. And I knew that in order for me to reach the next level and maybe ever have an opportunity of making more than 100 or 150, 200 grand a year, I would then have to hang out with people who were making more than 150 or 200 grand a year. So that was like the natural progression. Now, Abraham, probably makes over 15, 20 million a year. So hopefully that's the next step for me.
No, but it's the risk you take. Like, it's kudos to you. Like, a lot of persons, we talk about risk all the time, but the fact that you made that decision in like in 3 days. You know, some persons might be, if you're watching this or listening this too late, you're gonna be like, oh, I have responsibilities. This may not work for you, but the main thing point here is that she knew exactly what she wanted. You wanted an opportunity to be around people at that stage in your life. That's exactly what you needed. And everyone is going to get a different feeling, a different opportunity in different forms. But for you, it was, this is your opportunity right here. You want to be around me? You got to be in Atlanta. And you're like, say less. I am in. So I love that you took that risk. So from the business side of it, because now you're doing the business, when you got your first business, where you were like, yeah, buying cash flow in business is gonna be the thing. Real estate, you're on the side, I'm done with you. What was that transition like?
This is so good. No one has ever asked me about this before. So if you guys are listening, you're about to hear stuff that I've never said publicly.
Love it.
When I bought that business, I got 10% equity in a small cleaning business. And when I bought that business, it was really a wake-up call for how much respect you should have for entrepreneurs. Up to that point, I was a solo wholesaler. So I was making, 100 grand a year by myself, working when I wanted to work. When I acquired that business, it had a general manager. It had employees. It had lives. Like, I was like, oh my God, like these people are dependent on our leadership. It was me and my another partner, Mona. And it was just like, wow, this is a real company. This is how it works. There's payroll. There is, people who need scheduling. Like, there's a lot happening that, is not dependent on me doing the work, but is dependent on me being an organized and intentional leader. I think I don't own that company anymore. I sold it back to the people that I bought the 10% equity from, just because of time and opportunity costs. But that period of my life was like, okay, there's a lot of personal development that has to happen if you want to go from a solo entrepreneur, solopreneur, to a real business owner. Because as cool as it was, to have responsibilities and people in the business, I also recognize, holy cow, this company makes money without me necessarily scrubbing the floor. And that was like a light bulb for me. Since then, I have been very successful at building teams. I've studied leadership. Since then, it was like a stepping stone into the next level of real estate. And during that time, I actually did put real estate to the side. I wasn't wholesaling as much. Now, you guys know I'm back in wholesaling. I'm lending money as well. So there has been a couple places along my journey where it's like, okay, let's figure out what we want to focus on. But in my opinion, especially for my unique situation, 19 years old, no responsibilities, like this is where I have the most risk tolerance, and I want to taste. I kind of want to taste all the flavors of the rainbow.
No, I love that. Like, it's funny. I had a question based on what you were saying, and I'm like, damn, now it disappeared out of my head. But it will come back. It will come back. But what did you face any challenges with that during that entire transition? Like, I'm sure you would tell your family, but did you share it with friends, and did they try to tell you, don't do this, don't do that? If they did, how did you overcome something like that?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for that specific time period where I moved to Atlanta, it was just really lonely. Like, a lot of people don't talk about how lonely it is sometimes being an entrepreneur. Because I did move away from my family, and I moved away because they weren't making the money that I wanted to make. They didn't have the mindset that I wanted to have. And so I did a lot of things like going to the gym, trying to make friends, of course. But I do believe that there is a certain amount of business that you have to do, of course, to make money and grow. But there's also other aspects of life like health and like mindset and having the right energy. If your business, if a part of being your business is on the phone all day, you have to make sure that you're showing up to those phone calls with a good vibe, or else it won't go good. So I just put a lot of emphasis on how can I create love and relationships with myself. I started dating myself. I started going out, trying to meet a lot of people. So that was the only big challenge. I talked to my mom every day, talked to my brother every day. And that's something that honestly, I'm still working on to this day. I don't have any family here in Atlanta. And unfortunately, sometimes that's the sacrifice that you have to make in order to get where you want to go.
Yeah, man. I think we should do a follow-up because I like how you mentioned the loneliness. A lot of people really don't talk about that.
Mhm.
But that's a whole different conversation. But tell us, like, how did you get into, yes, we know that your mentor Abraham, but like what was the reasoning behind, okay, Alexis, you need to start doing transactional lending? Or did you raise private capital before that and then you're like, no, I don't like this, I want to do the transactional portion of it? Like, tell us about that
Yeah,
transition.
and also, how did you choose transactional lending? Because there's so many types
Many, yeah.
of lending that you could do. Why
Yes.
transactional lending?
Yes. So I'll start with the first question. How did I get into transactional lending? So this is a great question, and like, you guys are asking great questions that I never talked about before. But I got into transactional lending by accident. Now I love it because this is like the returns on like transactional lending is amazing. The safety of the money is like the most secure thing that I've ever seen. Money never leaves escrow. The security, we can lend in any state because the security is our relationship with the title company.
Yeah.
Whether it be EMD, double close, or sort of weird creative loan, money needs to be in escrow in order for the borrower to receive a loan, whatever it may be. Our security is our relationship. And that's what we're good at. We're good at communication. We're good at creating those relationships. And the returns on transactional lending they're phenomenal. But I got into it on accident. When I moved here to Atlanta, I'm always asking questions. I'm just very curious. I think one of the best skill sets and character traits to have as an entrepreneur is curiosity. I was always asking questions to Abraham. How do you make the most money? What's the easiest money you make? What's the hardest money you make? What does the return look like on everything you do? And one of the things that he mentioned was transactional lending. And based on everything that I just told you guys, the return, the security, the easy, like the smoothness of the transaction, I was like, why aren't you doing more of that? Why aren't you doing more of that? And so my antennas went up and I was like, how can I get into this? I started marketing, and then, things started coming my way. And I was like, hey, you said you were doing this before. Would you be interested in this? Would you be interested in this? Then we actually started leading calls for, a community of people, Gator community. Some of you guys might be familiar. We started leading these calls, and I mean, people they throw their money at, people just throw their money at me. And I'm like, guys, I don't need more money. I need more deals.
You need more deals.
to probably like at least 100 people. Here's my 600K. Here's my 300K. What can you do with it? I'm like, guys, I'm sorry. Like, the only like downside. This is the only downside that I can think of is the business model. We're always so liquid. These are 24-hour transactions, 30-day transactions, 60-day maximum transactions. So we genuinely, when I say we don't need more money, we need more deals, it's true.
Yeah, it's true. Man, they always say money isn't the issue. Like recently, I've just been hearing that over and over. Money isn't the issue. Go find a deal. Go find a deal and the money will come.
And with this perspective, like lending this money out, I think, having access to capital is a really powerful thing, especially if you can couple that skill set or that resource with a skill set like leadership or communication, because then you can put a group of people to work, and then you can turn around and also put money to work, and you're the middleman that's reaping a lot of the benefits. But without that skill set, having 100 grand, having 200 grand, having 500 grand, $1 million, it's like all the money is green, but not all the deals are good. So you also, as a capital raiser, have to develop the ability to analyze and underwrite deals. You have to develop the ability to put people to work. You have to develop the ability to put your knowledge in someone else's mind as well. And so that's a skill set that I've developed and I'm continuing to develop every day. Am I getting good at trading? How do I hire? How am I hiring someone who could do this better than me? How am I hiring someone who could duplicate me? And so you do that over and over and over again, and then your business grows. But the first step is being this transactional. Hey, let me get the money. Let me also have the ability to look at deals, and then you pair the two. And it's you guys know, it's the best thing ever.
It's like things just start happening. I think I have this thing on my wall that I got from one of my coach, and it says, short game, long game. The short game is getting you in the game, and the long game is getting you to the top. You put both together, money and deals come to you.
Yep.
And I was like, that's a whole connection. But let's go back a little bit. You mentioned that there was a time in your life when you're like, I need to learn about leadership, and you were just focused on that personal
Mhm.
development. This is very off topic, but everything that you did that time was preparing you for what you are doing now.
Absolutely.
Because now you're able to hire, you're able to communicate certain things, help other persons, and that is helping your business to scale. Like
Mhm.
everything, like listening to your story, I'm like, oh my God, that was all working out. But yeah,
A
let's go
lot of
back
people
to
like these podcasts. I really feel like it does a good job when I talk, for an hour or 30 minutes. It does a good job of showing how I got to where I'm at. A lot of people don't know how much studying and how much like intricate nights of like details reanalyzing how did that conversation go. I did a
yeah,
lot of analyzation on how my leadership skills developed. And
yeah.
I do feel like it's going to be very hard for someone to raise money without leadership and communication skills.
Mhm.
I was at a meetup last weekend talking about raising private money and presenting to private money lenders, and one of my main things was like, hey guys, can everyone very quickly promise me please in the room that they will never ask for private money by saying, hey, I need 50K, can you do it? Like, it's just
Yeah.
like, guys, come on.
Yes. Oh my goodness.
I ain't reading that. Like, genuinely, it's like the communication is so poor. It's one of the most essential skills.
Yep.
Someone worked so hard for that 50K.
Yeah.
Someone spent. People who have 50K in their savings or an X amount of dollars in their IRA, they will look at that money and think of it in terms of time.
Yeah.
This money took me X amount of hours to accumulate. This money took me X amount of years to accumulate. So when they give you that, they're giving you a piece of their life, which is
Yeah.
just the most important thing that we all have. As
Mhm.
investors, we fortunately don't look at money that way because we're really good at making it. But you have to understand the mindset of someone who is willing to give you money, and that's how they will look at their money. So you have to strategically have conversations in order to
Yeah.
make the transaction successful for the both of you. And I feel like that's a big thing that a lot of people
Absolutely.
miss when raising private money. They're missing the skill sets and the characteristics of someone who can be really successful at it.
Mhm. Man,
That's
were
so
you?
true.
Because Betsy and I, we did a full episode on that last week in terms of how to talk to private money lenders. Because the same thing that you said was, it's not cool to be like, hey, I need $20,000 now for 6 months. Okay,
Like,
really?
what am I supposed to do with that?
Really, and especially if you've never had a conversation with someone before. So we touched on like how to approach that conversation, especially
Yeah.
if you need the money right away, because things happen. You would have a lender, they back out and you need the money right away, but there's still a different approach to that conversation. We're doing all this transactional lending.
Mhm.
I'm assuming that you're the one underwriting all your deals.
Yes, absolutely. Right now, we actually just brought on a TC. So my partners in this business, originally it was just like some wrestling, like, hey, I want to use your money for this deal, I'll use your money for this deal. Now I've officially partnered. This is a cool thing about making these relationships. Now I have like genuinely unlimited access to money. But your question, I'm sorry.
No, you're good. You're the one doing all the underwriting. How are you
Yes,
managing
yes,
it?
exactly. So I was saying that I'm doing all the underwriting, but we just hired a TC. We just
Mhm.
hired someone to come on and finish out the job so that we can focus on creating more opportunity. But yeah, I'm underwriting all the deals. Someone will submit a deal. We have a website. They'll submit a deal similar to you guys. Like,
Yeah.
you have to have systems and processes. Since the audience is private money raisers, guys, you have to have systems and processes because you're putting yourself out there as, I'm
Yeah.
someone who's organized. I'm
Yeah.
someone who's going to take care of the money, right? If
Mhm.
you're unorganized, everything's in a thread of an email or there's no system behind it, it's very hard
Yeah.
to not only have consistent deal flow, but someone who's willing to give you money, they're going to want to see some level of professionalism.
Capitalism. Yeah. No, you're so right. So when you tell us about, let's say I come to you and I'm like, Alexis, I need $30,000, and I
Mhm.
submit to you the deal through on your website, which, guys, we will put that in the description as well. But what are the criteria to make you decide that this is a deal that we want to fund? And then
Yeah.
what will be the next step in terms of paperwork, for example, to make sure that you guys' funds are protected and get it back?
Yeah, so the cool thing about working with us, whether you're a borrower or like someone who wants to be an affiliate and wrestle with us, is that we handle all the paperwork. The borrower, I'll get on the phone with you and walk you through the process of how it works. But we're really not going to be in touch super often unless I need you to sign paperwork. A lot of our communication is, hey, borrower, super excited to do this deal with you. Please connect me to your title company or escrow agent so I can communicate with them. They're the person that's going to be holding the money. The borrower can say, everything in the moon all day long, but if I can't get the same things confirmed with the title company, it pretty much doesn't exist in my mind. So the deal, when it's being presented to me, I'm looking for how long is the money out, who's holding the money, obviously the address. You guys be surprised how many people send me stuff without an address. It's crazy, right?
Wow.
We would be
Yeah.
surprised.
Yeah. Yeah, the address. But there's a couple things on the website that you'll see is paceandabraham.com that you guys will see to submit deals.
Yeah.
Man.
Well, I do have a question. Let's to go back to, we do have viewers who are very new or maybe like are just came up on this video and they don't have no idea what transactional lending is. Can you
Yeah.
define that for us?
Yeah, of course. So transactional lending is when you're going to loan money for a transaction. It's exactly how it sounds. So a lot of times we work with wholesalers who are looking to get their deals to the finish line. Maybe they're selling to a hedge fund. A wholesaler is someone who wants to buy a house and immediately resell it. So maybe they don't have the funds to close on the house to buy the first house. We will lend them that money for a period of, let's say, 24 hours, and then they'll immediately resell it. They'll probably make 20 or 30 grand, and we might charge, I don't know, 2,000, 3,000 bucks for that 24-hour loan, depending on how much it is. So that's one example of transactional lending. Another example we just did, we lent out money for a period of 30 days. The money needed to sit in escrow in the title company's account so that the borrower could get funded from another bigger lender. So in that situation, our money's sitting in escrow, totally fine, not going anywhere, not being spent, and the borrower is going to get qualified for their loan. And then when that first draw comes through, we'll be repaid back on our investment as well. So it's just these quick, short-term loans on specific transactions. And I think the coolest thing about our business model is that our money is not being spent. A lot of times in private money lending, and there are totally different forms of private money lending. There's things that happen all the time, and they're a win-win for both parties. What I particularly like about transactional lending is the money's not being spent. The money is somewhere, it's in escrow. And at the end of the day, I like the security of knowing, like, hey, maybe it's not in my bank account, but it's sitting somewhere, it's not being spent.
Man, have you had any cases where, because we've had something like this before, where the title company doesn't want to release the funds?
So we haven't dealt with that, and I'll tell you exactly why. Because we're confirming 3 times before we ever send the wire that we need these funds released at the drop of a hat if we request it. And we also have paperwork to back that up with anyone involved in the deal. Yeah. We do an intense amount of upfront paperwork, and we also charge an upfront fee. Like if someone wants to borrow funds from us, we charge an upfront fee because there's a lot of scenarios where maybe the deal doesn't go through. Maybe the guy doesn't get approved for the loan. Maybe the buyer backs out, right? And so because the work that we do is so intensive up front in terms of paperwork and communication and time, we make sure to collect a return on our investment, part of it up front and part of it on the back end when the deal is successful.
I see why you hired a TC now.
Yeah. I love that, because a lot of persons, I mean, we've had it happen to us before when we just started out, where persons would come to us and they're like, I need this amount of money. And you put so much work in.
Yep.
And the deal falls through.
Yep.
And you're like, what just happened?
Or when they're asking and they don't have the contract.
Or that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's also a way to weed out the persons who aren't that serious too. And a lot of person will be like, no, I don't want to pay an upfront fee, but that goes to show you don't value my time and what I bring to the table.
Yep.
if you're not will, if you want me to put in all that work from the get-go, and if the deal falls through, you're like, on to the next one. But I love that you guys you're charging that upfront fee as well.
Oh, we have a question. So
That's
Doax is asking, how do you determine how much to charge upfront?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we do that by reverse engineering what we want our annualized returns to be. So for us, we're charging 5% upfront, and we assume that every transaction is going to fail. So if we can make 5% upfront on maybe a transaction that was supposed to be 30 days, on the back end, technically it's supposed to use percentages, but on the back end, we make more than 5%, right? So if we're collecting 5% upfront, then even if the transaction fails, we are at a place where we're satisfied with our annualized return. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. Love that you mentioned reverse engineer.
But that's very much used in business. Like we're doing it in reverse.
Yeah. So
this is pretty unique. Have you used private money to acquire any businesses?
No, not yet.
Not yet.
My goal with business, I feel like where I'm at with businesses is where I was at with real estate like a year ago. Like I've done it a few times and I know a lot about it, but I have a lot of execution to get under my belt. I have a lot of experience to accumulate. And so I've actually joined up with Pace and his team, just funneling them leads, looking at, I get on the conversation with their CFO like once a week, just learning. I think I would never get a job. I'm not built to work for anyone, but I think if I can get myself into a position where I'm adding value to someone and like extracting knowledge, that's like the best place to be. You're not having golden handcuffs, but again, you're learning stuff. Once you learn and you get knowledge and you get experience, that stuff is irrevocable.
Yeah.
I worked for a wholesaler that was doing $1 million a month when I started. I would not be where I'm at if I had not learned those systems when I was starting. So I find it like really, really good to get in the door with someone who knows what they're doing. Like if anyone's interested in private money lending, like how can you add value to Kels and Betsy? Like if you're interested in real estate, how can you add value to XYZ person? You just have to find out, how can I be around them? That's really my main, it's my song and dance.
Mine too.
I repeat that 4 times.
No, I love it. And the thing is that you just point out too. Oh, hey, Maggie.
Maggie.
What I love too is that if you guys are really listening keenly to what Alexis is saying, is when she gets around people, she observes first. She's very observant in terms of what are they doing. And before she asks, how can I help? She try to figure out what's going on and then use her skill, her background, her experience, and then help that person. I see a lot of persons do the opposite, where we've never met before. And the first question is, how can I help? I don't know, because I don't know you. I don't know what skill set you bring to the table. So I think that's one gem like we should all like take away from this conversation is really, we need to be observant. Whoever we're going to ask for help, do some background research on the person, see what is it that they're doing. And then when you approach that conversation, hey, I see that you're doing this and I think I can bring value by doing XYZ. Ooh, the lighting on that. The lighting on that. But my thing is, can you walk us through, let's do a little bit deep dive. Walk us through a deal that you've done, like share the numbers, even if it's a deal where there are hiccups, and how did you overcome some of those hiccups?
Yeah. So I'll talk about an EMD deal that we did, and I'll talk about a double close that we did. So on a double close, friends of mine, a lot of them are really, really successful wholesalers. And so a lot of them sell to hedge funds, or they even sell on the retail market. So a couple deals that we did last week, I'm looking at this spreadsheet now. I want to give you guys like the exact numbers. A couple deals that we did last week, one of them was 140,000. The other one was 288,000 roughly. And the other one was 77,000. And all these deals, these are my friends who, I love doing business with my friends, by the way. If you can't call people that you make money with your friends, you're doing something wrong.
Yeah.
So that's why I keep saying my friends, because like everyone that I like, usually like you guys are my friends. Everyone that I transact with is like my friend. But my client, I guess, my client, they are selling these deals to hedge funds. They're wholesalers. They got the deal under contract and they want to sell it to a hedge fund, but they can't assign it. This hedge fund doesn't allow assignability. So in these particular deals, all with different title companies, all different places, but in these particular deals, the first thing that I need to do, like, hey, please introduce me to your title company. I need to make sure that whoever's holding our money is on the same page as us. That's the first thing, because that's our protection. We don't file a lien against the property. We don't file a security deed or anything like that. So my main protection is my ability to communicate with the title company what I need done in the transaction. So then we got introduced to the title company. Once we get to the title company, we're asking, hey, super excited to do this. Always good energy. Like I said, if you're on the phone most of the time, if you're emailing, you want to be doing it with a good vibe so that people, want to do business with you. But I said, hey, I need the A to B settlement statement so that I can understand how much we want to wire and create a payoff for this deal. That's the next step for me. Now, a settlement statement, for anyone who doesn't know, is like a receipt of real estate. When real estate is bought and sold, the settlement statement is like a receipt. What did this cost? What did this cost? Who got paid off here? Everything is like outlined in a spreadsheet. So the settlement statement also says how much money is due from the person buying the house. That's the number I'm looking for. I'm taking that number and adding, a payoff. So our specific charge on these deals were 0.75%, 0.75, less than a point. And that's important. These guys are in sub 2. Those rates are for sub 2 and Gator only. If you guys are interested in doing a double close with us, please feel free to visit abraham.com. There are rates on there for you all to see, hey, what do we charge? You can also be an affiliate with us. If you know a lot of wholesalers doing deals, feel free to email me. My email is also on the website, and you can be an affiliate with us and make money with us. But our rate is 0.75. And I want to highlight that because somebody's like, wow, every time I tell you that, they're like, wow, 0.75. And I think it's because most people charge 1.5 or 2 points. But you guys, I know you're smiling. You guys get it, right? 0.75 for 24 hours. 5 days.
Yeah.
A month. Add up that return over the course of the year. It's incredible. It's incredible.
Yeah.
And so, we're funding, 3 or 4 of these deals a week, just double closes. There are double closes happening everywhere because the National Association of Realtors, not only are the hedge funds and the innovations good, but the National Association of Realtors is bringing a lot of regulation to wholesaling. There's a lot of people that are going to have to resort to double closing, and wholesalers advertise themselves as cash buyers. And so we want to help them, fulfill that promise. We want to help them be cash buyers. We want to help them close on the property. So those deals, I created the payoff. I got the A to B settlement. I made the payoff, sent it back to the title company. And this is really important so that there's no confusion whatsoever. Hey, can you please send me the B to C settlement statement? There's an A to B between the seller and the wholesaler, and then there's a B to C between the wholesaler and the end buyer. Can you please send me the B to C settlement statement with reflecting my payoff? Yeah. And then there's one final thing that I ask for. I say, this is great, looks good to go. Please send me your wire instructions. We have processes on verifying the title company. We don't work with any title companies who are less than 6 months old unless we can send someone to go out there and like FaceTime us and show us the title company. But the last thing that I'll ask the title company for is, can you please confirm, so important, if anyone's taking notes, this is the most important thing about my specific business model, transactional lending. Can you please confirm, Mr. or Mrs. Escrow Agent, that our funds will not leave escrow until the B2C funds are also in escrow? That is like the most important thing that we need confirmed, because if for any reason our funds leave escrow before the buyer's funds are in, and the buyer like gets abducted by aliens, passes away, whatever it is, we are screwed.
Yeah.
We have to then foreclose in a state that we're not familiar with. We have to go through the process. Like, we don't file any like deed or anything like security deed or anything like that because it's such a simple transaction. We like to keep things very simple. So those few things are what I do in a double close situation. So in those 3 deals that I talked about, we received wires back the next day. These are 24-hour loans. And those 3 transactions alone, we made $5,000.
Yeah.
24
In 24 hours.
Yeah. It's incredible. So that was really exciting for me, as a capital raiser whose job is to resource the capital and then find the opportunity.
Yeah.
My return is infinite. I have no money in the deal. So I think out of that 5,000, I profited like 3,000 or 2,500
from it.
I can't remember because we're doing a lot of these deals, but I have a pretty good like profit share return on these deals. So it's super cool. And if anyone's interested, I'm more than happy to talk about it. My @ is here. You guys, message me on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, whatever it is. And then we also do EMD. So EMD deals are a lot more complicated. Betsy, you were talking about, you see why I hire a TC. The TC, I promise you, is mainly for the EMD. And I'll tell you guys why. When you're at a double close, you're at the end of the transaction. It's happening. You're not involved unless it's going through. With EMD, for anyone that doesn't know, is an earnest money deposit. It is good faith towards the transaction happening. It's usually at the very beginning. So when you're doing EMD, you're at the beginning of a transaction. You haven't run into all the problems that you're going to run into yet. So EMD requires a lot more protection because the money is sitting for longer. There's a lot of EMD has a lot of weird terms where after a certain date, the EMD might release back to the seller instead of back to us. So there's a lot of paperwork and communication with the title company around what we're trying to accomplish. So in an EMD deal, again, if I'm talking to the borrower, I'm talking to the wrong person. Hey, Mr. and Mrs. Borrower, please connect me to your title company as the lender in this situation. I always have to be connected by them because I have tried before to call title companies and say, hey, this is what I'm doing. This is what I'm about. They don't give you any information. You have to be connected and introduced to the title company. So EMD is fun though, because a lot of times you can get 100% return on your money in 30 days or like 70%. It's just crazy. These
are the different things.
It's crazy what this kid, like, this is a whole business on its own, and these transactions are happening every single day. I mean, I probably haven't even have like 5% of the market share that actually does this. I need to do more marketing, admittedly. EMD, you confirm with the borrower, you get the title company, you send all the paperwork to the title company. That paperwork is written up by attorneys, of course. You have everyone sign, you send those papers to the title company. Can you please confirm, Mr. and Mrs. Escrow agent, that these documents mean the same thing to you as they mean to me? I want to be on the same page. Do you have any questions? What's your process for canceling the contract? I'm asking this because a good amount of our contracts may cancel. Remember, EMD is at the beginning. A good amount may cancel. So I want to make sure I'm crystal clear on your exact process for cancellation. And so I'll ask those questions. And then the last thing that we'll do for EMD specifically is collect that upfront deposit, like I mentioned, just in case it gets canceled. You cannot borrow money anywhere in the United States for free. Whether or not you use it for what it was intended to be used for or not, you can't borrow money for free. So we collect that upfront deposit that's non-refundable.
Man, so I wanted to ask you a little bit about your affiliates. You say you have affiliates. They're the people who are giving you the funds to be able to do these amazing transactions. How are you structuring with them these transactions? Like, do you guys have them like get into an LLC? How are you, how are you doing it? What's your process like?
So you're talking about people who we do deals with?
Who you raise the capital from?
Oh, okay, the people that I raise capital from. Yeah. So in the beginning, it was just like, I have deals. Like, we should work together. It was so informal. And it was just like, okay, what do you usually make? Like, okay, I want 30% of what you usually make. And I just shot a number out there. Like, honestly, it was very informal. It was like guys, when you're making other people money that they wouldn't have made without you, it's really not that hard to get money. It's not that hard to get paid.
Mhm.
But then eventually, yeah, we were doing a lot of deals together, and we filled an LLC. Yeah, but you want to get in touch with people who are open minded more often than not to working with someone, to more opportunities, someone who has an abundance mindset. Yeah, I'm very lucky to have people who have full pockets and also the mindset to put those full pockets to work. But yeah, Betsy, just to answer your question, it was very informal. I wasn't like, here's a contract. I was like, that's a good idea. I'm going to go see if I can replicate that. And if I do, when I do, let me use some of that money. It was so informal. It was almost weird how informal it was. But yeah, in the beginning, I shot for 30% of whatever, I brought in. I have other people that now are going out and marketing. A lot of my time, I said I need to do more marketing. A lot of my time now is poured into people who are marketing this opportunity.
Yeah.
And they will go on a double close charge 2%. There are people that we've done double closes with that make more money than me, more money than like my partnership. So it's like really cool now because I'm like I'm doubling the leverage over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And then I hire a TC, and at some point it's like, well, man, what am I really doing? I'm not doing anything, but I'm being a business owner. That's what I'm doing, and that's the mindset that I'm really excited to move into because that's how it works. That's what we got into this for.
I went full circle. I love it. Okay, so we have a question. Robin is asking, can more than one lender fund on the same file? For example, a wholesaler needs $300K for a double close, and I have 3 PMLs that each have $100K.
Yeah. So what I would do in that situation, dependent on how close everyone is to each other, I would either form like a JV contract, write up a JV contract. If it's really short transaction, I probably wouldn't go through the hassle of forming an LLC together. But if you guys do this deal and like you guys maybe are buddies and you're like, holy cow, the return on this is crazy, and do it over and over, like for sure, I would definitely formalize that. But yes, absolutely, more than one lender can fund the same file. Robin, this is my friend, by the way. I know Robin. How are you? Everyone's my friend. But Robin, what you want to do is all that money just has to be in escrow. The title company is not, super concerned about, where it came from. You want to confirm the things that I talked about a couple minutes ago with the double close. That's really, really important. But other than that, you shouldn't have any problem with that. And as long as you send them your JV agreement, you can outline exactly how you want funds dispersed so that the money's not coming to one guy and he gets abducted by aliens or passes away and your money's stuck in his bank account. You can make sure that the funds come directly on title.
Yeah. Man.
That's awesome. That's a really good question. Thanks, Robin.
Thanks, Robin.
Another one, Dax. Any advice on how to find deals to supply EMD for, perhaps connecting with wholesale groups? Oh, that's a good segue for networking.
Yes. People ask me this all the time. And they will actually send me how they're trying to find these deals. And I think the problem with a lot of people who market for EMD funding is that they're losing their human touch, right? They're not being sociable. They're not offering value. When you're going out and you're saying, I have something to bring to the marketplace, people are not going to jump on it right away. You have to show them that you're trustworthy. You have to show them that you're going to add value to their business. So a lot of times when I'm marketing for EMD, I'm actually like giving out a wholesale contract or I'm giving out a closer script because I want to collect data of wholesalers. Even if we don't transact today, we can transact later down the line. So when they asked me this, they were messaging wholesalers cold with rates. And I was like, no. You're doing marketing all wrong. You guys got to read $100 Million Leads by Alex Hormozi. Great book for marketing. You have to give some value. And then you have their permission. You have their trust to get some value. So that's my main thing for marketing on EMD. EMD and double closing is not something that someone knows they need right away. It's a product that when people need it, they really need it. They need it now. Your job to stay in touch with a group of people who may need your services. That's the fault that I see in a lot of people who are doing the business model. Clearly, not as good, right? But that's the fault that I see with a lot of people who are trying to do this. Like, they don't understand the foundations of business.
And I love the fact that if you guys are not following Alexis, her handle is right there. Make sure you follow her and subscribe to her channel as well. Is that you do a lot of networking, like a whole bunch, and everything. I'm here listening to you, and I'm like, everything that you're saying with wholesalers, that human connection, it goes back to being intentional when you go to those local meetups. And not saying that the virtual meetups are bad, but there's something different when you go to those local meetups and you keep showing up, persons keep remembering your face, and you keep just finding new networking events to attend to. If you're a wholesaler, then make sure you find all the local real estate meetup that's happening. Add it to your schedule. Okay, this is work. I'm going here to work, because the more people keep seeing my face, hearing what I do, when they really need something, that's who I'm gonna like call. So what advice would you give to persons as it relates to networking, especially like if they're virtual and let's say they're in Georgia, but they're marketing to Florida buyers? Like how would you talk about the networking there?
Yeah, so I think, the human touch is really important, especially coming off of Corona. Even if you are marketing outside of your state, go to your local meetups. People move. We aren't trees. You might meet someone at your local meetup that used to be from where your market is, and like is the connection that you've been waiting for. The likelihood of that, yeah, sure, it's low, but there's a possibility. The first thing I said was like, a poor man wants a guarantee, a rich man wants an opportunity. So I will never. Ooh, I just got goosebumps.
Bruh, like I was about to ask, did you get that from Secrets of the Millionaire Mind?
I don't remember. I pick up a lot of stuff and then it just sticks. Like I just like I'm a sponge. I don't know exactly where it all came from, but I'll just spit it out like it's mine.
I love it. No, because I heard that this morning. That's why I'm like, did you get that from the book?
Yeah, possibly, probably. I read a lot of books. I do. So if you're marketing outside of your market, still go to your local stuff. You're gonna meet people who maybe aren't all from there either. Maybe aren't all marketing there either. So I wouldn't have that closed mindset that, oh, I'm not in my market. The second thing that I'm a big advocate for is a personal brand. So if you're marketing in Florida, okay, tailor all your personal brand stuff to Florida. Make Florida related YouTube videos, make Florida related TikTok. Then you're going to attract Floridians to your stuff, and it gives you credibility. I just did a podcast with Pace specifically on branding because I feel like he is where he's at because of his brand. And people don't ask him. They all want to know about Sub 2 when really the underlying success is the brand. So the brand, whether or not you have 500 subscribers, 5,000, 500,000, or 5, having the platform where you put out education and you put out, what you're up to and what you've done, that alone is credibility, and adding that credibility tool to your tool belt will get you in rooms, and conversations for sure.
Man, like that was a good interview, by the way. I watched that. That was pretty good. That what you did. So what are some books or resources or anything that you would recommend to anyone as it relates to personal development, lending, private capital, whatever it is that has really helped you in your business
that you haven't mentioned so far? Because you have. So good.
Yeah, I mean, I think it is all going to come back to the people that you're hanging out with and strategically forming those relationships. I think I could talk about stuff like talking to the title company or, foundations of my business. I could talk about that stuff all day. I could make YouTube videos about it. More than happy to. But what I think has really been the point of success of where I'm at is my ability to communicate. On this whole podcast, I feel like I do a really good job. Nothing that I'm saying is unclear, and that took a year, 18 months to develop, and it just reps. So one of the huge books that was for me, How to Win Friends and Influence People. That book for me was like, I don't want to compare anything to the Bible, but like that book was like a big part of my life when it came to having intentional conversations, how to figure out how to work with people,
Mhm.
how to figure out what value we can add to each other. And then the second thing was just reps.
Yeah.
Like I remember, oh boy, I remember one of the first networking meetups that I went to, I was pitching seller finance to a fix and flipper. And the guy looked at me, he said, I don't see how that makes sense for me. And he walked away, didn't even smile. And it's just like, okay, well, you learn from that. Like,
Yeah.
what went wrong, So you can read all the books, you can practice, and the influence and the communication is very, very important. But again, it's going to come back to reps.
Mhm.
When you go to a networking event, take note of your conversations. How intrigued do you feel like this other person was in you? How intrigued did you feel like you presented to them?
Mhm.
Those are some of the things that I feel like people don't ask me about that have made me very, very, to get to where I'm at now.
Man, you just said something, and we talk about it a lot. We talk about how we handle unsuccessful raises, because a lot of people don't talk about that. They think you're a capital raiser. Every time you're looking for funding, it's spot on. No, it's not. For you doing any form of transactional lending, when a transaction doesn't go through, like, how do you process that? How do you deal with it? How do you reflect to ensure that you don't make that mistake again?
Yeah. Oh, that's so good. It's painful. It's painful. It sucks. Especially when you look back, you'll always want to be looking back on what could have went better, and you realize that it's something that you could have done better. Your communication wasn't clear. Your communication maybe wasn't timely. You're too late. The transactions, everything has a deadline. How I handle that is with systems. That's why I'm bringing on a TC. I immediately say, if I don't have the capacity to do this better, who does?
Yeah.
One of the big things in traction, and I use traction a lot in everything that I do, but it's get it, want it, and have the capacity to do it. I get it. I want to do it. I'm happy to do this stuff, communication, being on the phones. But a big thing is like having the capacity to do it. So I find when things don't work out and it's my fault or it's the business owner's fault, it's related to capacity. It may be a sign that it's time to elevate or hire or bring someone in or bring in help. And that's typically how the lens that I look at it through. Like, if this is my issue, which most of the time anything that goes wrong it's a representation of the business owner, honestly. If this is something that I'm struggling with, who can solve this problem?
Yeah. Who, not how.
Yeah. I haven't read that one yet. I got to read that one.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Like, it is. I've listened to it twice.
Wow. Twice.
Yeah, twice.
Damn.
It's really good. And then check out this book called Pitch Anything by Oren Klaff and flip the script.
I love that. I haven't read those, but I've heard so much about them. I feel like I should.
Trust me, it's their both books by Oren Klaff. Your perspective is going to change as it relates to pitching. The things that we were taught, like the standard way to pitch a deal, anything it is. But his perspective, it's mind blowing.
Yeah. Wow. I gotta read those. I have those at my house. I just haven't gotten around to them yet. So
you love them. It's definitely worth it. Pitch Anything and Flip the Script by Oren Klaff. But Alexis, this has been fantastic, and you've dropped so many gems. I loved how, like, guys, if you don't know, like before, we're like, Alexis, don't hold back, go deep. Go deep into just give us all the details, and you did just that, and we appreciate you for being here and just sharing how you're running your business, how you're evolving, and even just being open in terms of how you got started and the things that you went through to get to where you are today. Because a lot of persons see, oh my God, she's doing this, she's doing that, but we forget that it takes a lot to get to where you are today. Setbacks, learning curves where you had to pull back and put some love, put some effort into building your knowledge and becoming a better person, because all the things that you've done before is helping you right now. It's all working out. This is me going godly, but it was God put you through all those things 2 years ago, a year ago, Alexis, you're not ready, but you need to do this because once you learn how to do this in a year, you're going to be doing something and I need you to be ready for it. So you
Yeah.
should be really proud of yourself and what you're doing now. But we appreciate you for being here. We appreciate you guys for listening, watching, and being so engaged in the conversation and asking questions. So we hope that this has brought you guys a lot of value. And guys, don't forget to subscribe. Please like this video. Let us know what you think. And always leave a
Yeah.
comment. Betsy, what you
Yeah, I
got?
was gonna say that too. Yeah, thank you guys for watching, for listening. We've hit 1,000 listeners on Spotify, so it's like
Yeah.
amazing. You guys are so great. Thank you, Alexis, for being on here with us. Thank you for sharing your knowledge. You said so many things that resonated with me, and I know that it resonated with our listeners. And I know it's one that I'm gonna go back and rewatch, re-listen to, make sure that I like absorbed everything. It was just so good. You guys, please follow Alexis on Instagram. Go find her on Facebook. Go get her YouTube. I know her link for her Instagram is on the description, so you can just go there now and subscribe or follow her. And yeah, so whether you guys are looking to finance your next project, launch an, or expand a new business, we hope that this episode gave you insights, strategies, and tips so you can also raise capital and invest with purpose.
Bye,
Let's
guys.
go.